Greetings. This is a video to talk about the San Pedro experience, which I had received just the other day. And I believe that this tool can help us in many ways. This is a very ancient sacred cactus that has held great significance in South America for a very long time. And the South American people have been experimenting with a range of psychedelic plant teachers such as ayahuasca, peyote, San Pedro, and the magical mushrooms, which there are many species. The psilocybin species and all of their counterparts. And psychedelics for me are always rewarding because they really help to clarify various things. They help to bring your consciousness onto a higher level where you can really view things from your pituitary gland and from the heart of being, because these tools open you to the reality of what's going on behind the matrix and machinery of the modern consciousness, or the people that are in time, the people that are bound um, when we are in life. Without these tools, without these spiritual practices, we only really see so little. Only the surface is felt. But the taste of this psychedelic was very bitter and was very green, and I put a bit of lemon juice in the mix, and I drank this thing as I was walking down this little ridge of like a little pathway that went down and focused upon these two areas of waterfall that were very beautiful and were very nice to just clear my face with the water that was coming from these waterfalls. And as I drank this, I sat down on a rock, and I appreciated the water. There were a few ladies around, but I just chose to just sit there and to enjoy what was about to come. But it was very nausea. The nausea came on, and it was a bit uncomfortable at first because I felt like it was like after I vomited. I felt like it was purging my lymphatic system, like really purging my lymphatic system, and it was really clearing my body in a very powerful way, like no psychedelic I've ever experienced can do. But this purging occurred with vomiting, this very tight feeling in my neck and a little bit on my back and my knees and my feet. I believe that was my lymphatic system doing something because of this chemical and this cactus juice. And then I walked down to lay down in this little area of grass, and these trees and plants were around just to settle into the experience as the nausea would pass. And the last bit of the vomit was literally like I almost vomited up like my stomach acids. It felt like I almost vomited up all the liquids. It felt like after that I felt very empty and very hungry, and I had fasted the whole day. I had basically eaten nothing at all, just drank water in the morning, and had a chaga mushroom pill, which is a like a little immune boosting mushroom with very powerful pituitary gland activating properties. That's the only thing I ate that day. But nonetheless, yeah, as I purged, I felt very empty and like kind of sick. I laid down, and the spirit was talking to me, and it felt like there was like this richness of energy that was there waiting for me, and I felt like the landscape became very alien as I laid down. There were these strange insects that were flying around me that I've actually never seen. There was some birds feeding around with the grass patches that were around, and there's this beautiful tree, these large purukara trees, and in the sky was some clouds and some formations of patterns. Everything began to start waving, and I felt like the dimensions were opening, and I felt like something was changing in my perception, and this pattern was very disorienting at first, and I felt sick and tired and hungry and just a bit you know I felt a bit disoriented. So I laid down and I I asked for a bit of assistance, and I connected with my with my spiritual guides, the the galactic community, and the the ascended masters that are often there when I meditate or experiment with these psychedelics. I always see them. I see their energy fields and their orbs and the various energetic manifestations in the air. And I felt them, and they were just telling me, just relax, breathe, be patient. This will all pass, and it did all pass. And a few people walked past, and like I felt very different from them. Like I felt like I was on a different frequency, and I felt like they couldn't really fully perceive me. But I was just there. I laid down, I got up, I laid down, and when I was laying down, I felt a little bit of slight anxiety, just because this was some psychedelic territory that I'd never experienced. So it was this very slight, like uncertainty as to what would happen. And what would follow was actually much more than I expected, because the trip was very beautiful. The information, the visuals, and basically everything about it was very unique and very spiritually healing. And basically what happened is, the essence of the beginning of it was this morphing of colors, and it changed, like almost as if, like, when you look at the trees, the grass, like it would become brighter and then dimmer, brighter and dimmer, and as it would brighten and dimmen, all of the colors of the rainbows would kind of run through the general patterns of the wave-like motion that I would see everywhere around me. I also felt nature, connecting with me. I felt like these ancestor spirits, beings that were around the earth, and I felt like, wow, like this is really something. This is something different, because I felt like nature was like welcoming me into something which was now this strange experience. And I looked around, and everything was really alien. Like, it's almost as if I was seeing the world in a complete different way. And the nausea and kind of mental cloudiness started to go away, and my mind began to get very, very clear. Like, I felt like this amazing euphoria and clarity began to begin. And just before doing that, just before getting to that kind of clearer bit, when I was still a little bit uncertain and a little bit nauseous, I did this thing with my hand where I just did this, or I did that. I did like kind of like a something like this, like kind of like a master would just radiate a blessing through the hand. I just did that from my being, and then as I did that, these birds rushed around and started making all this noise as if they were. It's like these birds, like these tuis and other birds, just multiple species of them. It like felt like they all rushed next to the tree next to me, and they started to sing, and this language of the bird, of this tui bird, which is, I'm not sure if you guys know what a tui is, but a tui is this beautiful black, purplish, very interesting silky bird with these white balls underneath its chin, and it's a native bird to New Zealand, and it has this amazing robotic, alien-like bird call, very unusual, very futuristic almost. And when I heard that, it was very trippy, very, very unusual, and I really appreciated that. Maybe there was some energy connection with nature. But what happened is, I eventually got up and I started to walk around to this area, to explore like the front of the beach, and I started to walk, and I began to feel like nature was kind of like morphing in various colors, and there was this incoming feeling that then, as I would walk along this path of sand that would follow this kind of river that would go along towards the beach, um, this this feeling would come across me as I'd walk on the cliff of the sand. Um, when you're at a beach, I'm not sure if you've seen it before, but like these kind of like banks of water that run along, and you get these little cliffs of like sand, and there's like these layers of those sands, and if I made like this connection with like this area of Karekare, there's a beach that I was at, had this beautiful these like mounds of cliffs that looked very ancient and very old, and they had the same kind of texture or pattern as the sand that I was standing on, and I had this powerful realization that everything is like a wave upon a wave upon a wave, and waves can be fractalized infinitely throughout various ways of seeing things, and that was a powerful realization, which then followed into me understanding like something about frequencies and how everything has its own tuning capacity, and how the body is a transceiver, and how we have to be responsible to access the right connections in our consciousness. So I was making some telepathic connections as I was walking with the Star Council, and I felt their consciousness, and I felt them out in the distance, resonating their ships. They were materializing as they usually do when I look in the sky, and as they were blinking and blinking, I felt the energy just increase. Like the energy is very radiant, very, very, very energizing. Like when they're there, it kind of electrifies the land, it electrifies your body. It's just the general nature of these higher evolved extraterrestrials that are with us when we choose to voyage within. And so what happened is, I started to feel their telepathic connection, and at this point, I really felt as if this cactus is something. It really is some type of technology. It's not just some psychoactive chemical. It's much, much more than that. These cactuses, they grow in some of the highest altitude areas in the world. In Peru, Bolivia, the Andes, and these cacti have such an interesting feature to them. They have these like little eyes, almost like very, very small spikes, almost non-existent, but where the spikes are, it looks like they're little eyes. And I felt like there was this kind of bridge occurring where like my own kind of masculine nature was this kind of column that kind of was like above, kind of like a torus field. That's what the San Pedro spirit was like, this kind of galactic pattern of light that was everywhere and within all things, and it was fluid and harmonic, and it flowed, and it had this energy structure to it that I have seen on other psychedelics, but with San Pedro it really felt like an energy field. And maybe because these plants, they grow in some of the highest altitude places, there's a lot of sun, very close to the equator, or perhaps semi close to the equator, a lot of light, a lot of energy. They perhaps have been evolving for a very long time like that. And I had another realization that these are antennas. These are biological instruments to receive the intelligence of these other dimensions and of the sun and all of existence. It roots itself into our world, and it pulls in all this light and somehow synthesizes chemicals within itself that seemingly are capable of assisting us to access our own inner vision. And the visions of it were very organic and very natural and very fluid, and there was a sense of this multiple worlds, this multiple waves of bliss that were connected to other dimensions and to other civilizations, to other beings in the universe. And I felt their energy. I felt like this powerful union that could not be broken, because they were my soul family. But before really, really feeling that, which was more closer to around my peak, I had this experience of like feeling all of the frequencies. San Pedro really opens up your inner ear. It really helps you to really listen, like actually on like a vibrational and spiritual level. Helps you to really listen to yourself and to listen to the energies around you. And I felt like I felt the clutter and the confusion in the world. Like everyone is confused, and there's so much confusion, and what's going on, all these energy, like I felt like that was a part of what was going on. Maybe because that is what's going on. There is a lot of pollution, contamination, and all these things going on in our world with everything that we know is changing. And I felt that slight confusion within me, but then I felt this powerful euphoric clarity come, and that clarity was this feeling of understanding that there is a galactic awareness, and that this chemical key, or these multiplicities of chemical keys that the San Pedro has, because it's not just one alkaloid, it's not just mescaline, but there are these many alkaloids that are present within the cactus. So there were all these keys unlocking, and I felt there was a galactic communication occurring, and it was a frequency that I could tune in if I really focused my inner ear and my pineal gland. And as I tuned into my mind, I tuned into the intelligence of these beings, and I felt their energy very, very uplifting, swift, tranquil, meditational, protective, caring, grandfather, grandmother, very wise, like wisdom, in its highest sense. Like they know everything. They are there. They were channeling through me, because I was speaking, and I felt this energy run through me, and I felt they were connecting with me. And as I was speaking, like they were speaking through me a message, and I was listening to that message, and there was various key elements that was clarifying what was going on Earth and this whole galactic shift. And there's all this information that was clarifying in my consciousness and really purifying my body and purifying my mind. And at the same time, the visuals are slightly getting more and more intense. And as the hours would progress, this got more intense, where the euphoria got more, the frequency was more clearing, my mind was clear, I felt inspired, I felt connected, and I felt like there was this energy with me that was very, very powerful and ancient and galactic. And I walked around back to this other area, which spans around another area of the beach and goes through the dunes, and then it goes to these areas around the beach where there's all of these like cliffs, these natural cliffs with some beautiful trees on it, and this amazing ongoing coastline of oases. I mean, these dunes upon dunes, and it goes on, and it's beautiful. Like there's these little oases of water where it's been raining, or the water came up at high tide, and the water sits there, and the light reflects off that, and it's beautiful. Like you can meditate there, and there's no one there. And the big mountain, well, not a mountain, but I'd say it's more like a cliff in a sense, but kind of protect you. It felt had this protective power. The land was energized. It felt Earth was energized. There was this spring was around. There was a sexual energy that nature was feeling, and I saw the insects flying together, and kind of like yin yanging around each other, because time for procreation to occur in nature when it's spring. I saw birds, and I saw these beautiful, beautiful flowering shrubs. These flowers were yellow, and it came up like a head with many, many flowers, and it was beautiful to witness that. And then this couple walked past me, and they were carrying a child, and I was like, wow, like there's children that are being born in this world, and this powerful connection with like just all of these things that we experience as humans, like family and life and death and life again, this new life that's coming on our planet. This new frequency, this new something vast, something powerful. And as the peak would increase, this futuristic quality came across me, and this galactic overseeing was looking through my consciousness, and it was this amazing fractal, crystalline, fractal projection of time, like the past, present, and the future being this vast, multidimensional era of so much that it looks upon us, like it literally looks upon us from the future and projects its light, as the future, it's like the future is like a light source radiating something. And we are heading towards this acceleration point where everything becomes itself and everything returns to itself, and this spirituality, this galactic enlightenment occurs. And that's what I felt. I felt this galactic enlightenment in me, and across time, across space, these beings were there, and I felt them as like galactic Taoists. That's the best way I can. They just knew the way. They had seen it. They had observed it. They've been witnessing life in all of its ways for eternity, because they're just infinite, immortal, timeless light essences, communicating and assisting us as we grow and develop and work through our problems. And I felt their energy and I felt their love, and it was very, very comforting. And I feel that the San Pedro is some type of interface with extraterrestrial consciousness. It's got a connection with the solar energy, the energy of the sun, the energy of light, as well as the energy of earth. And it does something powerful because it shows you, the masculine, feminine nature of life, and it shows you yourself, and it shows you your relationships, and it shows you, your own harmony, your own disharmony. But there were points where I felt so coherent with my heart. I felt so coherent with my being that my being was radiating all of this information visually. I saw visions of these rotational spirals and these light sources around me that were kind of like correcting my energy field. And I saw this energy, this electricity, this neurology in the ether around me, within me, in the earth, in the galaxy. The whole universe was a great panacea of electrons and neurons and colors and fractals and patterns and fractal mathematics, and everything was this great mind, this great consciousness. And that consciousness was with me and within me. And as I walked and kind of explored this state of consciousness, more and more bliss would arise within me. So much to the point where I had so much love and I had so much willingness to give my life to do good things, to make, a living. And I felt so much inspiration and so much energy. It was very healing and very powerful, very cleansing. And it cleared my mind and it cleared my emotions, and I felt very in tune with the moment, with this moment that at that time was divine. And the sun came out. It was cloudy before, but it was sunny. The sun came out as I walked further around to this area where the oases were, and I kept on walking, and I got to a point of water. And I sat in. I stood in the water, and I felt the water, and I felt the water in my body, and I felt so much love within me that I was like, I felt in love with myself, because this galactic, godlike consciousness that was present was blessing me, and it was telling me, appreciate yourself, appreciate. You have to love yourself first, and in life, you can only know others as deep as you know yourself. That's what it was telling me. So it was telling me to go within and to really bring the energy into my heart and into my body, and that's what I was doing. And there's some cat fight outside. Whoops. God bless them. Let's make sure that their little cats are harmonized, no conflict. But anyway, there was this connection with myself, and prisms of light were being reflected from the sun to my consciousness, from the sand, and there was this reflective, colorful quality to life, and everything felt so clear. And at the same time, it felt like I became attuned to a frequency state that was, coherent with the way that evolved enlightened beings see things. It's just like this clarity of mind, this clarity of being. And it felt like the Buddhic philosophy, the Buddhic budding of man, like the flowering of man. You know, as the sun hit me, as I was grounded barefoot with the sand, with the earth was beautiful, the sun was beautiful, the day was beautiful, life was beautiful, people are beautiful, everything is beautiful. That beauty was within the moment, and I appreciated it, and I felt it, and the galaxy was really there. Like I actually felt like there were beings, like so many of them were just watching me, and I felt their energy, and it's just interesting because like just feeling that galactic presence, like whoa, it's like you're humbled, you know, like there's so many of them and they're so advanced and they're there, you know. I look in the sky and they're blinking and resonating and shimmering light, and I feel it in my brain waves on the trip. I felt like my brain waves were like very fast, and my heart was like it was almost overwhelming itself, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was very euphoric, but the heart felt like there was something coming out from my heart, like a light source, and that was very clearing and very healing. And as I walked back, you know, I spent some time on the beach, and I made my way back eventually, and you know, I got to a point where, you know, I felt like making some tea. So I walked back, I made some tea, and there was this grandfather feeling, like this love that I had within me was an ancient, timeless, universal quality that every being can share, like the highest value of yourself, that can care for others, that respects others, that will listen to others, that will, you know, do good things. That light was there, and I felt like the grandfather figure was like this San Pedro, or this cactus spirit. There was this being that takes care of us and tells us and reminds us that we should take care of other people and help to heal other people, and this like shamanic feeling was within me, and I felt like having a bit of tea, because so much information and so many visual things, like I saw lots of triangles, and I saw, like, you know, the 5-star like the 5-star pentagon, the golden star with all of the golden fractals and the Fibonacci spiral frequencies within it. I saw lots of those, you know, unfolding in my consciousness and like reflecting and refracting and healing my DNA. And there was a part where I was on this little mound of sand. It looked like a little pyramid almost, or like a little dome, you know. And I sat on top of it, and I was talking in a way to kind of send good vibes and good thoughts and good words to the universe and to the earth. And I felt that by doing that I would actually heal some part of the earth, because as I was healing, humanity was healing. And this deep genetic healing, when I closed my eyes, I actually saw these coilings of spirals infinitely weaving in this great mandala of humanity, and we were all being healed. These extraterrestrials, these light beings, these masters of light that are multidimensional were doing something on an energy level to my body and to the earth, to the sun. There was this activity, this great cosmic activity, making sure that everything was going to plan. And I felt that there was like a powerful level of importance for my mission, and I felt like I have something to share with humanity. I have a vibration, a healing capacity to give to other people, and I felt that within me, and that was a powerful realization too. So that was very healing, and I really appreciated that. And I walked back, and I had some tea, and sorry, there's some motorcycles outside, and what happened is there was this moment in time where, you know, I was kind of overloaded with all this information, just because I'd kind of come up over my peak, and I was slowly coming back down. And I felt like, just relaxing and kind of being in the moment, um, and just doing something simple, just reflecting over a cup of tea. So I went back to my van, and I made some tea with some goji berries and some of this special tea that I bought, um, which is actually like a nice, it's like some brand called Organic India, with this um, beautiful moringa and basil and a few other things. I just made myself some of that, and I felt this kind of ancient grandfather Taoist figure doing everything very slowly and very coherently and very carefully, and trying to measure how much water I need. Like I was just trying to be very present, and that's what I was doing. And I drank my tea. I was drinking my tea, and the sun was slightly setting, and I felt a lot of energy, like a lot of electricity, actually radiating out from my body. And this was a very profound feeling. But I felt like my kidneys, like they felt energized and very warm, and very like it was like my whole body was being powered like a battery from my kidneys, and that energy transferred through my hands and through my feet, and I was just grounding that in the earth, and really, you know, taking in all that information that was coming from this energetic realm of these various wave patterns, and I really appreciated that. But yeah, like I was, was quite tired. I was quite tired. Like I'd been fasting the whole day, and I was like only drinking water in the morning. It was like already like maybe 6 or 7, so I was a little hungry. But I try to ignore the feeling. But like in the early part of the trip, like you actually purge so much. You purge, like your whole neck becomes like so, like your neck and your lymphatic gland like swells up, and you just feel something clearing through your body. And there's no other thing I've ever done in my life that's done that at that level of intensity, because just that aspect of vomiting, and then the lymphatic system is clearing, that itself was a powerful physical clearing experience. Like emptied me. I literally vomited out it felt like I vomited out the acids out of my stomach, because for some reason there was something powerful about doing that. Because after that, everything began to really flow, and things were, the whole trip was very clear headed and very clear. Maybe just because my body was clear, I was drinking water only. But yeah, like these little goji berries I had, that I put in the tea. I was sitting around this statue, and this is like this wooden statue, and just appreciating this Maori design with these little DNA coils and kodus, these spirals that the Maori and the Polynesians design a lot. And I chewed on the goji berry, and I really took in the taste of it, and it felt like a fire going off. Like as I crunched down on those small yellow seeds that the goji berry has, it felt like this powerful expansion was going on as I ate the goji berry. And I do believe that goji berries have a very, very powerful healing quality. They have this yang quality. They warm up, our liver, our kidneys. It really energizes us. And I had this powerful feeling of fire within me, like the sun, like this like radiance. And that whole experience was much, much more than I expected. I mean, I brewed up 2 feet of cactus, and it was quite a skinny cactus. It wasn't like one of those, it wasn't those fat cacti. This one was only about this, like that, and it was about 2 feet. And I thought it would be like quite like a moderate dosage, but it turned out to be quite a psychedelic experience, like just as intense as LSD or something of that nature. So yeah, very healing, very clearing, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I sat in my vehicle. I sat in my van, my space shuttle, the space vehicle that I own. And I was just really appreciating what had happened. And I recorded a little video, and just a lot of wisdom, and a lot of like a lot of good feelings was within me. Like I didn't feel any negative emotions. I didn't feel anything bad could happen because I was in a good state. I was in a good vibration. And the after effects lasted for a while. Like I sobered up, but even when I was sober, I was still having like some visuals, like these like fluttering, rotating, flowery, particle like electricity kind of like resonating everywhere. That's what I saw and felt, and I felt like that was a very clarifying, very clearing experience in my mind. Um, but in that phase of it, I drove back to my girlfriend's house, and I spent some time with her, and we had a good conversation about what happened. And it was interesting because when I was laying on her bed, talking to her about it, like I felt like my body, I could actually see light emitting from my body, like all these patterns and energies were just like floating around in the air, and like these little ET ships that are like in the plasma. These electronic plasmas would just kind of structure themselves around the area, and I'd see like this light, and then I'd see how the light would pop up and it'd radiate out an energy. These light beings, these light essences, these ascended masters, they're just plasma, really. They just manifest as these electronic radiances of energy vortex, like they look like energy vortexes, and I felt that and I saw that, and I was still actually, I was still quite sensitive, felt very sensitive to, just felt very sensitive to just the general thing about, felt the energy of my girlfriend, I felt the energy of the Wi-Fi, I felt the energy of my body, and I was very amplified. But I went in the mirror, and I just looked at myself for a very long time, and I was just making a connection with myself, and I was really like going within myself, and I was doing a little bit of qigong, and I was like bringing down some light and bringing it into my body, so I could just ground myself back into my body. And then it was quite late, like maybe like 11 or 12, and I just had a little bit of food to ground myself more. And that was my trip, that was my experience, and that was a very, very good experience. And I'm very grateful that San Pedro and that cactus is so available to us, and it really is a teacher, and it can really help us in this time. So don't be afraid to look into it. It's definitely a very powerful spiritual medicine. And yeah, if you're a starseed, if you really if you're anyone that just wants to really connect with your higher counterparts, connect with nature, really go within, San Pedro is a powerful, powerful tool. Just make sure that you're in the right environment with the right setting, right intention. Make sure that you're not eating anything that day. Stay on a liquid diet. If you can, stay on a liquid diet a few days beforehand, just so you can lighten up, really like prepare for the initial experience. Because if you have a clear body, you're going to receive the information very clearly, and it's good to be somewhere nice, like somewhere in nature, somewhere where you can really like rest and be safe, like somewhere where you can maybe lay down, because the whole experience is very intense. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys in another video.